2, which is to permit fitness studios, gyms, things of that type in the downtown zone. If there's anybody who would like to speak to the council on that specific topic, please come on up to the podium. Oh, we have one. That'll teach you to do.
Hey Pat, it worked.
We've electrified. we've electrified the mics.
The rest of the microphones don't work now, so.
Pat's got a little switch, and if you go too long, he pushes it and you get
I'm
shot.
like one of your best volunteers.
And you will be again. It's like, it's training.
Good evening. My name is Heather Hobbs-Michael, 1919 Reading Court, Mount Airy, Maryland. Just for the past 2 weeks, I was 102 East Church Street. Just wanted to voice my support, obviously, of the rezoning for the downtown zone. Obviously, there's personal interest there. My family, not myself, but my family owns a very large portion of the property on Center Street. It has been on the market for 4 years, and it has become very difficult to sell. And so this rezoning, we're looking for any option available to us so that we can sell this property to someone who will make it something that Mount Airy will be proud of. And so we're hoping that with this rezoning that our options will open up and that we can help make downtown be an even more vibrant and enjoyable part of the Mount Airy community. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Heather. I will just let you know, it's on our agenda for adoption at the April agenda. Okay. Anyone else? All right, I will adjourn the 7:15 public hearing on ordinance 2014-2, and I'm going to go ahead a couple minutes early. I'll just make sure we don't adjourn it before 7:20. We'll start the 7:20 public hearing on ordinance 2014-1, which is the sign ordinance. Do we have anyone who wants to speak as to that one? If so, please come on up.
Sherry Johnson, and I'm on behalf of St. James Thrift Shop on Main Street. And we are here to request that you please allow us to have the sidewalk boards. With all the construction in the last couple of years, downtown's been a little slow, and we certainly enjoy putting our little signs out. It's part of the charm of the town. It's getting people to see what we have on sale. It's enticing them to come in and look around. And with the lack of parking, not everybody, you might be able to see it when you're driving down. When you find a parking spot, you'll know, I want to go back down there, they're having something on sale. So we just really want to be able to continue to keep the sidewalk boards up. I think it'll benefit our business, not only our business, but all of Main Street. I see Jeff across the street have his signs up, and it really does make you want to go in and see what that's all about. So we're just asking you to consider keeping them.
Thank you. This ordinance is going, I'm not sure what month this ordinance is actually going to come up for an actual vote. Just to fill you in, there's been a decision that we're going to have a workshop on that at some point, and kind of hash out all those little details, and because a lot of us aren't sign professionals. I know I went to staff with some things and said, well, I don't want this, and they said, well, that's not what it means. Because I don't know the difference between a monument sign and a box sign, and so we're going to go through all those things, and it's a work in progress.
And for clarification, we have some questions. We don't know why sandwich boards would be even a question of why they would be banned. Is there a reason why they're being subject to being banned now?
So I'll touch on that real quick, even though we're going to discuss as a group. The original thought was that in some instances, sandwich boards could be an obstruction on the sidewalk, but in most instances they're not. And I think what this body will end up discussing is the viability of those signs, and that it's probably an okay thing, with the exception of as long as it's not impeding traffic on the sidewalk. But I think that's going to be one of the things that we all kind of discuss and agree upon.
We just wanted to understand it because I have to report back to the board, and everybody wants to kind of know what's going on there. So
yeah, and to Peter's point about having it further on, the main thing right now, staff's trying to get this master plan done, so they've requested for the sign ordinance to be delayed a little bit until they can get all that done, and then we'll discuss the sign
And we'll have
ordinance.
further information, and we'll have updates about when.
Yeah, there's
other
actually going to be a
meetings.
public discussion with the workshop that Peter talked about, where we go over everything, and here's what it means and what it doesn't mean, and, yeah.
All right, thank you.
And we
No
will,
problem.
we will certainly, as we're going through the process, take all the comments we hear into consideration.
Yes, again, so you know, echo Peter and Scott's comments, I've got a lot of issues with some of the regulation in there as well. There's a lot of stuff in there that I think is overreach, so I would say it's, my opinion is the sign ordinance isn't even close to being ready to go. There's a lot of issues there to get worked out. And if you could get as a suggestion, if you could get the board to submit a letter to us, that would really help as well.
And
That
the
way
letter should just state how the signage is supporting our business and bringing
Yeah,
business in.
however, yes,
And
whatever.
adding to the charm of the little town that we're in. It gives that little hometown
Oh,
feeling.
absolutely, yeah.
It
So,
adds something to the town, so.
And you were getting a new sandwich board anyways, weren't you?
Well, I'm not now.
I haven't seen it out. Well, I remember last, when we spoke not that long ago, you said you were getting a new one to get rid of the old chalkboard that used to be out there.
And I was researching it, but I put a stop to that because I don't want to have the church put out money for, those things are not cheap.
Right.
That's why we had the chalkboard there. But we wanted a nice professional one, one that was wind resistant and wouldn't knock over and break and have to repair. But I don't want to buy one or have the church invest in one and then have them gone, so
yeah, I mean,
kind
a
of
letter
paused
from,
on that.
a letter from your board with whatever your position is would be helpful as well.
Okay, and I do have some of the board members here,
Great.
if that would be helpful. Jane?
Well, I will say one thing.
Only rule is you have to come up to the mic.
But I'm not touching it.
Smart,
Pat,
smart.
I'm Jane Barger, and I'm the treasurer of St. James Episcopal Church up the street, and as you know, we run the thrift shop. And from what you're saying, I'm not getting a good idea about timing. Are we talking a month, 2 months, 6 months? Do
We
know?
honestly don't know at this point. Mainly because the master plan, which is a major overhaul, I mean, the town planning commission's been working on it for for years, actually. And we had anticipated that would be at this body at this point, but it's real close, but it's not there. And that's obviously tying up the planning department, trying to get that ready. So they don't really have time to move on to signs, which is kind of the next thing.
Okay.
And once once that actually hits this, once the town master plan hits this group, that will tie us up for a while. We'll have several public hearings on that and other things relating to that. And then when that's out of the way, I think then we're gonna turn ourselves to the sign ordinance.
see, I mean, I think in practical terms, we're looking at least 4 months, right?
I would not be surprised to see it be 4 months.
Well, we're happy to write a letter. I mean, I think that from our perspective at the thrift shop, we've been very concerned about what's happened on Main Street in the last 2 years. I mean, we've dug it up, we've, turned the sidewalks inside out. We've had stop-and-go signs on there for a year and a half at least, and we've lost a lot of our business. And I'm sure that the thrift shop is not the only business that's had this problem there. And so then we saw this sign ordinance and we're going, oh my gosh, I mean, how are the business on Main Street going to survive if, first of all, we've run the people out of town and they're all going up 27 and, up around the other way so they don't have to come through. And now we want to get them back. I know you still have paving to do, so we still have to get through that.
Yeah, there will be another round of finished paving.
And then we're thinking, and no signs. So we've been on Main Street for 40 years and have never suffered like this as a business. And we're an old business for this town, and we've supported this town, and now it seems like the city or the town is just not supporting the businesses on Main Street. It's very concerning to us. So that's mainly why we're here, because a sandwich board, I mean, I drive through Newmarket every day on my way to Mount Airy, and it's very business friendly. They have a lot of open flags. It's very quaint looking. It's very friendly to the people. It draws people in. And if you take all that away from downtown Mount Airy, why would anybody come here?
So I think,
That's our concern.
I think it's
Scott?
important to note right now that there's no way, shape, or form saying sandwich signs aren't permitted at this time?
We
It's
know
for
that.
discussion.
Now they're, yeah.
Because
We've
it's,
used them for
it's
years
under
and years.
112-11 that you can still use them.
Right.
So please be clear, we're not telling you have to take them down
No,
because the
but
sign.
we're concerned, I mean, and what Sherry said is right. We had a plan to buy a better, something that was, more attractive for the town, but we've put that on hold because we're not gonna spend money that, I mean, what are we gonna do with a sign that we can't use? And, so I just thought it was important that you all understand. I don't know if
Thank you,
there are
that's
any other
exactly what
merchants
these,
here.
that's exactly what these hearings are for, so.
But I would think the merchants on Main Street would be a little concerned. I mean, we're looking at 2 years now
Right.
of driving our merchants away. We want to bring them back, and the best way to do that is to have a nice-looking sandwich board sign or something that entices them.
Do you,
Thanks. Just Pat had his
Just
hand
by
up.
way of explanation, to follow up on some of the construction, I know that's been painful for the businesses. I just wanted to assure you, some of the reasoning, first of all, is that our pipes were inadequate. They were
Yeah.
crumbling. We couldn't fight fires. It was a public safety issue. In addition to that, we had to upgrade our sidewalks, as you also know, were dangerous. So the town council did take great pains, and the town staff, to actually install extra signage at the cost of the town and the taxpayers of Mount Airy. We actually paid for those for the businesses downtown. In addition to that, we had campaigns, we had advertising. We even spent something along the tune of $80,000 to expedite the construction when it went to downtown. So when I hear something like we're driving businesses away, it kind of touches
Well,
me
I don't mean
because,
that the
well, if I
city
could
is,
finish.
the town is driving
Well,
them away,
we've-
but the
if I-
circumstances are.
If I could,
And that's,
if I could finish, we've just done everything we possibly could to accommodate, but sometimes it's helpful to understand what was actually performed. Now that we are looking at sidewalks board, I hope you wouldn't think that one ordinance would drive people away. I think there is some sensitivity to sidewalk boards. There's actually, I won't bring the business up, that has 3 of them. So I'm sure you can understand that some standards are in fact needed in town.
right.
And
oh,
I
understand that.
support standards.
I think it's just an unfortunate situation that all of this landed on Main Street in a 2-year period. And, I mean, I don't know that you had any control of that any more than the citizens of Mount Airy did.
No, but they did have control in trying to mitigate it, and the town's council was they worked very hard to make sure they did mitigate it as much as they could.
Well, we thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
But we would like to, see our business at least get back to where it was before all this started, and, some signage is a positive.
And I love your store, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I
Well,
bought
bring
a
your
wonderful
friends,
scarf
too.
there just a few days ago. so.
Bring all the people that you can find into the store. We would love to have you.
Plus, the famous town council sports jacket came from there.
Is that where it came from? I knew it came from a recent
Well, I'll tell you,
And I get to wear it this.
there's we go to a convention every summer, and one year, years ago, when I was council secretary, the task came to me to carry the town flag down the aisle at the convention. And you're supposed to wear khakis and a blue blazer. And being an attorney, I don't really have any sports jackets. I have all suits.
Right.
So I walked across the street, and you're having like one of those sales, too. So for like $8, I bought a sports jacket. And that was the only time I wore it, was like the 2 times walking down the aisle. And now every council person or the mayor
I've worn it.
borrows it from me every year for the purpose of walking down the aisle.
Well, you know what? Next year, we'll put a little sign on the back. I bought this at St. James. How about that?
So
That's thinking.
that,
5 years ago.
That blue blazer has become quite famous around the town for whoever's going to carry the flag gets it from me.
We are glad to hear that. We really are. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you
Chris had
listening,
one
and we will
comment.
get a letter to, the board will get
Yes.
a letter to you all.
right, and
Thank
just
you.
one last comment. If
Yeah.
you're thinking about investing in a new sign and realizing that this is very preliminary, but as far as my perspective in the ordinance, I do not support, and I have problems with the existing ordinance as written, I do not support the banning of these signs. Now, as the mayor said, some regulation needs to be made, but I won't support the complete banning of it. So if you want to sort of take that into your
Okay.
calculus, I don't know how the other council members feel, and this is all initial, but just.
All right, we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Any more comments on the signed ordinance?
My name is Roxanne Hempel. I live at 605 Park Avenue. I just wanted to say that there's no mention as far as real estate signs are concerned, there's no mention of open house signs, which go up on the weekends. You know, and since we're coming into the spring year, I'm a realtor myself, but in the places where I have my license, we can only put those on in the weekends, and we are now not allowed to put balloons on them. And I think it's a good idea not to, because the balloons were a cause if they are windy and they're at an intersection, they could be a sight problem for a sight in the intersection. So I just wanted to mention, you might want to put that they put them out, but they have to take them back, which is not a problem. The ones that are just for the open house, and not to have balloons on those signs. They can have a balloon on the sign at the house, but not, you know, the ones that you put on the road.
You know, it's,
I
it
think we
says-
do have a
it
no
says
balloons. We have a no
Does it?
balloon in the
Which I think
ordinance.
was the one that was questionable, but yeah.
Well, but
Okay,
I think
I'm-
we needed to define balloon.
Right, size of balloons.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Just don't,
it's,
just say no balloons.
it's on there.
I'm not seeing it, so.
Well,
Yeah,
some-
there was a no balloon thing, which
someone's
I,
having a birthday party, is that conservative?
No, George, you're
But,
but, thanks.
and
Yeah.
we get fined. I get fined. if I don't
Thanks for letting us know. Yeah, I think if you look all in all, Mount Airy wide, certainly people can be resistant. We're pretty lax on regulations.
Anyone else on the sign ordinance? All right, I will call the public hearing on ordinance 2014-1 on signs. I will consider that adjourned. And Debbie, we ready to roll into the regular meeting? Okay, if whoever's up at the CMC, if you want to wave a camera at me so we can see you there. Okay, we're ready. Sometimes I feel like talking
It always
about
creeps
those
me
robots
out.
in those movies, you know? Look, it's Wally. Hey, Wally. All right, I'm going to call this
Tonight.
March 24th, 2014 meeting in the Mount Airy Town Council to order. Let's start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this meeting is designed to basically be just a very short housekeeping meeting, because there were some things that we kind of had to get on the agenda this time because of time lapses, because we've had 2 meetings canceled from snow. And it's supposed to snow tomorrow, so we missed it by a day. Okay, we've got council meeting minutes to approve. We've got 3 sets. We've got February 18th meeting, which was also a special meeting from snow. We've got the closed meeting that went with it, and we've got the minutes regarding the dog trial.
I've got corrections to all.
All right, Chris, you want to bring up your corrections?
Yeah, first one, February 18, 2014.
Is that the council meeting?
That is the council meeting, paragraph 2, approval of minutes of council meetings. Councilman King moved to not prepare, but accept minutes as prepared. Under
Oh,
motion?
yeah, I see
To
that, okay.
approve, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I see that.
I don't think you moved to prepare, right? Accept or approve. Okay.
Is that it for that one?
Yep, that's it
All
for
right.
that. On the dog hearing, a few corrections. Paragraph 3, under Nick,
Minutes of dog appeal?
Minutes of the dog appeal hearing.
Yes. sorry.
Paragraph 3, Nikki Ratliff.
All the way down at the bottom, the last paragraph, I don't understand what it means. The English is a bit rough. I think the intent was to describe what the regulations are, but if you read the sentence, it really kind of doesn't make sense in English. So, just,
I did ask about euthanizing the dog. If after
Right.
a second bite, does it have to be euthanized? And she said no.
Lisa will look into it and reword it. This was
sure,
her-
just a reword
She did
suggestion.
these minutes, which was, for
Yeah.
only being here 3 months, she did.
Oh, good. Just a
So
suggestion or
she
reword.
will look into that and,
Okay, on page 3, the second paragraph, first sentence, on 10/1/213, he was at work, received a call from his wife claiming. I really think it should be stating, and, you know, I looked to Peter for the legal definition, but they stated they got attacked, they didn't claim.
okay.
Same thing.
I don't have any problem with the change.
Same page, all the way down at the bottom, before Councilman Everett inquired, if you could just insert a small note that Councilman Everett apologized for having to ask the questions. I just want the record to reflect that we didn't want to, the way it reads now is, this was an inquiry, The person had suffered enough trauma, and the question was asked with a particular.
Yeah, I do remember, it was a question he felt he needed to ask just to make sure that we were doing things the way we should, but he did indicate he felt bad for asking the question, but still it had to be stated.
Okay.
Page 4, section 6, Paula Heinrich. Down 3/4 of the way down, she confirmed there was a 6-foot fence. I looked at the fence. I think the fence is only 4 feet. It's not a 6-foot fence. So I don't know what the record says, but that fence is not 6 feet tall. It's at most 4. However you want
Well,
to.
we just know the key is we need to check the record, because if she said 6 feet,
It's not
then
a-
that's how the record should read.
Okay.
Chris is just saying he's wondering if she said 6 feet because,
It's not 6.
not
it's only
6.
4. Last, on page 6, the first complete paragraph, Councilman Everidge confirmed that the dog was likely to attack again. If you could just review what I think it was the county expert.
Yeah,
that's what the
first one.
county expert said.
That's what
Right.
she said.
That's what she said.
I remember that too.
Right.
Yeah,
she-
but it should
she-
say that, right, but the point of the correction is it should say that in the county expert's opinion, and it doesn't reflect that. The county expert's
right, 'cause-
opinion was,
Yeah, that's the county expert's opinion was
The dog
that
would
the
bite
dog would
again.
bite again if it had bit once.
right, to me, it's a very relevant change. Under, again, the second complete paragraph, Mrs. Heinrich then presented the leash and the harness. Just below that, there was a discussion by, again, the county expert, Nikki Radcliffe. She itemized the reasons why, even though the dog was on a leash, it still needed to have a muzzle. For example, she used specific examples. If you were in a park, the dog was on a leash, but a child came up from the side, the child could get bitten. There was a specific rationale as to why the dog still needed a muzzle, even though it was on a leash. That should be reflected in there. And the last correction, again, page 6, under Michelle Brown. I think it's relevant to show that Michelle Bowen was asked, had she seen the pictures of the bites? And she acknowledged she had not seen the pictures of the bites, and I think that's relevant. Because I know once the council saw pictures of the bites, they realized this just wasn't a dog biting someone. This is a dog that was ripping flesh from a human, so those are my corrections.
Okay.
Do you want to hold on this, Chris, till next meeting and get those updates done?
I-
Since there were a lot of them?
I would suggest we do that.
Okay. And I just want to make a point that Lisa and I decided that she would do a lot of detail, what she did.
Yeah.
On these minutes. We usually don't do that, but because of the type of hearing it was.
Yeah.
So it
Right,
took.
this was an unusual case.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't think we've ever done this in the history of the
No,
town.
we
Have we ever sat as judges on a dog
For the
trial?
last 26 years, I think.
Yeah.
Right, no, I mean, I think the
You
minutes were
very
great.
involved.
Right, they
Yeah.
were very involved and very great, but I think, as Peter said, because of the nature of what happened, I think it's very critical to,
If you're going to give detail, it has to be appropriate detail.
Given that we're gonna bring this up next month, I will move that we accept the February 18th, 2014 minutes of the council meeting with Chris's one change to read accept, and that we accept the minutes to the closed meeting, which were sent around to us.
I will second
Got a
that.
second from Bob, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Ordinance, sign ordinance is here for reintroduction. I will introduce it, is there a second?
I'll
I'll
say.
second it.
Okay, everybody seconded that one, I don't care who you choose there. Ordinance 2014-2, the fitness studio, I guess that's probably here for another reintroduction as well.
Yeah.
I will introduce that, do I have a
Peter,
second?
before we go any further, are we going to table the sign ordinance until such a time?
We're going to, my understanding is we're going to just kind of carry it over.
Okay, so we're just gonna carry it instead of formally tabling it?
I think that's what we're gonna do, is that, everybody kind of in agreement with that? We're talking, it's gonna be a couple months before we get to the hearing, so.
Because if we table it, we can table it for a specific time to come back up. If we
Correct.
don't table it, we'll have to keep reintroducing
If
it.
we
I would
don't,
just,
if
I
we
would
don't,
just table it.
if we don't, okay.
Since it's my ordinance,
I
I'll
will-
table it
yeah,
until after we
I
have
will
the
make a
workshop.
motion to table it, or
I'll
Scott, or
second.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Yeah.
And
Um,
until such a time
sure.
as the community, what,
Until we've
I
had a
want to do the
workshop.
workshop
Right,
and then
all right,
make
planning
sure we
department
can,
puts the workshop
We've
together
got,
for us.
we've got a motion to table it, and we've got a second. Scott moved, I seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And it'll just come back up when it's ready. We were on the fitness studio, 2014-2, that's gonna be voted on in April, so it's here for reintroduction tonight. I will reintroduce it, do I have a second? Scott seconded. All right, 2014-4, budget amendment for the backstop and fencing at Watkins Park Lower Baseball Field. And that's probably, any questions on that one? Brian was probably here on that one, right? Ah, I see Brian back there. Any questions for Brian on this one?
Now, I move we accept the ordinance as written.
I
I'll
will-
second it.
Okay, Bob beat me to a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ordinance 2014-6. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute, did we?
4.
Yeah, I'm
Oh, you
sorry.
did 4.
I
now
did
you're
4,
in
we're on
6.
6. That's to amend backstop and
jumps to
fencing
5.
for Twin Ridge. We went, okay. We're doing Twin Ridge this time, instead of Watkins Park. Basically, same ordinance, just changing parks.
I'll make a motion.
Moved from, Bob's moving, Scott's seconding. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2014-5, budget amendment for the Microsoft Cloud solution.
So I've got one statement, and then I have a conflict of interest. One statement
You
is...
don't work for Microsoft.
No, but he works for a club.
I work for a cloud provider, so one statement is, and it's not reflected in here, I would suggest staff verify that the cloud option they're going to use is the Microsoft Federal Cloud option, which is what's called FedRAMP compliant. So most cloud providers will have a federal cloud offering and a non-federal cloud offering. The federal cloud offering has what's called FISMA or FedRAMP compliance, so it has a security...
Very secure.
Yeah, it has a security
Yep.
accreditation with it.
Okay.
So that's not reflected here, so I'd recommend that whichever solution we pick, it's compliant. And that being said, I got conflict of interest, so I'll remove myself.
So do you know that it is?
No, I'm sorry, I can't verify that.
Well,
but I
so
will.
now if it's not and it costs more, we'll have to bring it back, correct?
Yes,
Within-
because this is a budget amendment.
Yeah, it's a budget amendment, so it's gonna, depends upon how.
Right.
you
Depends
know.
on how much.
Yeah, depends upon how much more it is.
Can we,
I have the quote, and it doesn't say
Doesn't state that's what it is?
So-
is it possible that we could offer a do not exceed?
Well, let's pass this and, you know, if we don't have a problem with it, let's just pass it and.
Right, and if
It
there's a
can come
delta,
back
bring
in-
it back
can-
to us and say
It can
this
come
is the
back in
change.
2 weeks.
Right.
For
Yeah,
our
we'll
next
get it.
meeting,
That's
you
fine.
know.
That'll
Our
work.
next
For the
meeting
April.
is-
If it was 30 days.
Without Chris, because Dave Blaze isn't here, don't you?
It only
We got
You have a
three.
quorum, you have a quorum.
Okay, only 3.
You have a
Well,
quorum?
Three's
This is
fine.
this is an emergency.
Yeah, but we put,
It's an emergency.
Wait a minute.
yeah,
I mean, it's
you may be
not
right, because
really,
it's first
but-
time up, isn't it?
Right.
It's first
You
time
can
up,
do
so we
things
need-
for a lack of quorum, but they can be challenged. That's what
Well,
Tom
no,
said.
the issue would be that it would have to be, since we're trying to pass, since we're passing them tonight, actually,
We can bring it
So,
back next
is
month.
Why can't,
we need 4 votes to pass it as an
but
emergency ordinance.
here's the vote. If he removed himself, he can abstain from voting. It's still a vote. Abstention's no.
Right,
You
but we,
need
No, you
4 to
can't
pass.
vote.
but we need 4 to.
You need
Oh,
4
4
passes,
The
oh,
numbers
that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I
That
do
doesn't
remember
matter.
asking that, I asked
Okay.
that before, when you actually
Right.
work the percentages. You have to have 4 of 5, 3 of 4 is not, doesn't push us over the percentages in the code.
Okay.
I remember going through this once before.
So it's gonna have to wait.
We'll just bring that one up.
You're
in 2
right, he
weeks.
would count as a voting member, but
Right.
not with a positive vote.
Right, without,
You
he
need
would have to
4
be a positive vote.
votes.
He'd have to be a
All right.
positive.
And that wouldn't help.
It's
So
2
we'll
weeks.
just- We'll just bring that one back up in 2 weeks.
Can we come back to
That's a very good point, though. Glad
Yeah.
Chris
And
made that.
Our IT got asked that question. Can we come back to it a little bit?
But
Well, we're saying we can't pass it tonight anyways without Chris's vote, because it would be an emergency ordinance. I'm assuming that budget amendments have to be done, yeah, okay.
2 weeks.
We can
We'll
bring
be
it
back in
back
2
in
weeks.
April,
That's fine.
We'll be back, bring it back in April.
if it
Yeah.
doesn't snow.
Good point,
Got a
Chris,
conflict, I
thank you.
can't vote.
better not.
Good point.
All right, ordinance 2014-7, budget amendment It says relocate, I assume it means reallocate.
I
Is that reallocate? Yeah, okay, it is. My eyes were blurring there. Money to water and sewer salary item. Since we're doing these as, I guess, just to be technical, I will move that we accept this as an emergency ordinance, and I will
Second.
propose that. We've got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We got to hire.
All right, ordinance 2014-8, budget amendment, reallocate 3,700 from general fund streetscape to general fund trucks and vehicles.
So I think we've got this clarified. Let me try to make this very easy. When the council put this money in the budget, it was my thought, and thought I think of others, that this was another additional vehicle in addition to our current fleet that would be utilized by staff members that use their personal vehicles for town business all the time, where they go to sites where they get nails in their tires, and certainly while we cover mileage, we don't cover for all those incidentals. As it turns out, this car is actually a replacement for the town inspector's truck that we never replaced. So there is no extra vehicle. This is not an extra vehicle. In fact, this is a cheaper vehicle than it would be if we were to buy another town inspector truck. So this vehicle will be utilized for Barney and staff. Rachel will now take the truck next year for the town inspector, so we're flipping them. This is not an extra vehicle. The economy car was not practical, and it was not an additional car. That's why we're even thinking economy. So we'd like to get an Impala, American-made car, for town staff and Barney to replace the town inspector truck that was much more expensive. That's all it is.
All right, so I move we accept budget ordinance 2014-8.
As an emergency measure?
As an emergency measure as
I
written.
I
will
will
second that.
okay.
Okay.
Bob seconded that one. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That only took about 300 emails and charts. And
Yeah, it looked real quick here, but he's
That's
right.
what sold it to me. You had your data.
There's a lot going on that got us to that point.
and thank you, Charlene, for sticking to your guns and saying, wait a minute, this is what it is.
Street closing for the chili cook-off. I will move that we close the street for the chili cook-off, and unfortunately, I left the date in my box out there.
It is April the
April
12th,
12th.
2014, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Thanks, Bob. You know, I left it in my box, so I was like, I'm gonna grab it on the way in. I will move that we do that. Got a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And for those of you who don't know, come to the chili cook-off. That is one of the nicest downtown events we have. The streets down here, when the weather's nice, you can barely walk down the street.
Right.
I mean, it is packed, and
And
it's
it's
a lot of fun. There's a lot going on.
Great food.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, you know, I brought my wife to it a couple of years ago. She usually doesn't like coming to the downtown events. She liked that one.
Yeah.
She got to see a lot of neat stuff, a lot of people, I mean, just watching these portable kitchens these guys bring in to do their chili. But we have people from all over the country come in to do chili. It's really a nice event, so be there. Street closing for the volunteer fire company parade. That's in my box as well, but it's the last Thursday of July.
July 24th, I
From
believe.
like 6:30 to,
Let's see here.
do it enough years, you remember the date.
July 24th at 7 p.m. for approximately 2 hours.
Thanks, Bob. So
Sounds like a
moved.
motion.
That is the motion.
Yeah, and I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right. We have pulled the Wildwood Park bonding reduction for some reason. Talk about scheduling a budget workshop. And then that's the last thing on our agenda.
Well, now my budget will be completed by Friday, I believe. Barney, I think you and I have the biggest issue to iron out.
Okay?
We should be done by Friday.
So if it's done Friday, I'll put copies in your boxes and you
Okay.
can.
And Debbie, once copies get to our boxes, you want to start emailing around some days to try and pull together a budget workshop?
Well, where we have a few of you here, can we throw out some dates now?
You can throw out dates.
You can throw out dates, but, you know, I have to.
They may not
if-
stick.
Because let me just go over one thing. I have to have this budget done and ready to roll by the 17th in order to get it in the paper to meet my deadline.
17th of April?
Yeah.
Pushing it.
Yeah, but we can still change it after that,
We
Debbie.
do this every year.
I know. But we can change it after that. You
Yes,
just
you
need-
can, but I need,
So you could even
She acts
go,
like she's surprised.
I-
We do this every year.
I would like to comment on that. The public gets very unhappy when we change it after
Thank
it's
you.
been presented. I can remember, I can remember my first meeting as a councilman, and I ticked off a county commissioner by basically writing a letter that said, stop messing with the budget and pass it like you presented it to the folks. So if there's any way that we can do that, I would prefer to do it that way.
well, see, what's gonna happen is she's only talking about her advertising it in the paper.
Right,
You know, the question is, when does it actually get presented to us? In theory, typically, we would vote it as an emergency measure at the May meeting.
right.
I mean, you vote it as an emergency measure at the May meeting and adopt it, or you can introduce it and have a special meeting.
Right.
Then-
Well, you know what I would suggest, Debbie? Let's, assuming we get it before the April meeting,
Okay.
let's introduce it at the April meeting.
That would be nice.
Okay, that way you've at least got something to advertise if you need to, and if we change it, we change it
At a public hearing.
at a public hearing, you know, well, you know,
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay,
all right?
so I'll put it on the.
Put it on the April agenda for introduction. That will eliminate the,
Because the whole thing is, I mean, like, you can not approve it at the April meeting, of course, as you know, and then we'll have a
Right.
special meeting.
well, this would avoid the need of a special meeting, but we'd still fit in a workshop.
Right.
And you wanted some workshops early April, I
The
guess.
May meeting is
Just
the
some
5th of May,
ideas.
so.
The dates,
And so you know, Peter, I'm on travel the April 7th. I got travel, I can't move.
That one day or the week?
No, I'm gone for at least a week, maybe a week and a half.
We
Starting
got a council
the
meeting on that day.
7th through the 16th.
Any place interesting?
um,
Can't tell me?
California. I'm in California.
His entire family will be home along with state troopers posted.
Great. Let's have a look at the camera. So I won't be at the next council meeting in April.
Gotcha.
When, you're leaving when, Chris? 7th?
I'm leaving the 6th, actually. So, and as the mayor just said, the troopers will be.
I know.
But please just schedule the budget hearings as required. Don't wait for me.
Okay.
You can always send
He
in any
said, we'll
comments.
just schedule, don't wait for him. Schedule the budget workshop. Okay. Well, let's see, we're gonna get it on April 7th, right?
The 21st, we're already committed, correct? That's the 21st, right?
That's the MML dinner.
Yes. So that leaves you
Yes,
the
that's on my
14th through the
calendar.
28th.
Well, if we do
If
a
you're
Monday.
going on- If you're going on Monday nights.
What was the, I mean, if Chris is sure he's okay with you guys meeting without him, then how about the 14th?
Well, if we stick to a Monday, Easter's the following week, correct? Following
Yeah,
weekend?
Easter's the
Yes.
20th.
20th, okay.
Yes.
Well, I would say, Debbie, tentatively email around the 14th, you know, I'll get your email and I'll ask my wife, because that's not a date that I schedule.
Okay.
What date?
Well, Tammy, other than, you know, town events or days, Tammy schedules the rest of my time. So when Debbie emails a date, I'm like, well, it's okay here, but I need to check,
Chamber's calendar, so.
I
that's
need
what
to
I was
check her
asking.
calendar, yeah. Well, Tammy's calendar's paper. She
Oh.
writes on it.
I need somebody to do my calendar.
So is everybody pretty much here?
We all know
Okay
Mary
with
Beth does your
14th?
We
calendar.
don't have any work sessions scheduled on the 14th.
That's not,
We all know who controls your
she
calendar.
actually does. She does.
14th of Monday.
Okay,
14th would be.
Okay.
yeah, so we'll just, if that works, it does, it works, it doesn't, it doesn't.
April 14th works for me right now.
I don't think there's, okay, we're gonna go, we've got a closed meeting for the hiring, and then we'll come into an open right after that. Do I have a closed meeting?
Actually, you've approved the funding already.
I thought we also had
But we should go and close
Closed
for some
meeting.
explanation.
we had a closed meeting about land acquisition.
Tom's not
as
here.
well.
Excuse me, Peter. Tom's not here.
We still should discuss.
You can still update us on the status
Yeah.
of it.
Land acquisition.
Okay, Debbie,
Uh-huh.
I need the form?
It's coming.
Okay, she's working on it. Okay, well, I'm going to move that we go into are we gonna need to come back into an open for any reason?
Yes, Pat, well, we already approved it.
We
so
already
you don't need
approved
to
it,
come
but
back in for
I'd like to give you a little update on what's
Right, but
happening.
my question is, am I gonna make
Yeah.
my motion that we come back in, or we just go into a closed meeting?
There's nothing to come back in to vote for.
No, the only other thing I was going to bring up before we finally close out was some point scheduling a workshop for the signs. But I don't know if we just want a carrying item that we're going to need to do it in the future, because we have a budget one.
It's so far out, I would just carry it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it's at least June or July.
We think the master plan's going to drag out that long?
The
Yeah.
public hearings, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably, yeah, the master plan public hearings, as a rec, we usually don't even have them here, because there's too many people who show up, we get a bigger facility.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's critical.
We'll use the fire hall, and it's usually packed. Okay, I am going to move
Bob's got something.
that we go into a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation of employees, and also to discuss the possible acquisition of land. And I will also move that we, I guess, adjourn at this time, go into that meeting, and then when that meeting's adjourned, we are completely adjourned.
Peter, I have one thing to say. Because of the closed meeting class that I just took, you need to give us a topic that isn't too specific, but is
Well, I said land acquisition and employee.
not for this.
Can-
You
can
just
I-
need something a little more specific than this.
Okay, Bob's got something. Bob's got an interesting.
Before we go into a closed meeting, do we need to pay the bills?
I've been told we don't really need to do that, even though it's
Okay.
been on here forever.
It's in the budget.
They paid them.
All right,
Well, the
I know
budget's-
they. I know
Okay,
they-
so I need to give something more specific than, 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 than acquisition of real estate?
It's a little more specific without anything.
Acquisition.
Is it
of
rail trail real estate?
Is related to rails.
Rails to trails, okay. Okay, and I need to, well, actually, you just take it. Councilman Health is an aye. Councilman Strong?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Everidge?
Aye.
Okay, we are all ayes, and we are therefore adjourned, going into closed session. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Got you out of here quick.